All right, in this video, we're gonna talk about 7 different passive income streams that I have used over the last probably 10 years or so. And I'll tell you about the successes and the failures, and maybe it'll give you some ideas for yourself and things that you can kind of explore. All right, so I just finished creating my garden for this year, which I'm really excited about. I've kind of had like a toy garden for the last few years, and I finally created like a big one that I'm really pumped about. So I like to plant perennial flower bushes that I plant one time and they come back every year. And that's how passive income works, and also why I love it so much. So for me, it was about 10 years ago when I first kind of discovered this idea of passive income. As someone who had just worked hourly and just gotten paid by the hour my entire life, since I was probably 12, I started doing some work by the hour. It was just such a fascinating idea that you can go in there and do work one time and then get paid over and over and over again. All right, so let's dive into 7 of my actual streams of income, and I will talk a little bit about each one and show you some of the failures and successes, and we can kind of go through those. All right, so the first one for me was a dividend paying stock. So I did this about 10 years ago. And for me, I was just buying a local utility company, tend to be fairly safe and secure stocks, although who knows what's going to happen in the future with them. But they paid a 3% dividend. I made a $500 investment, and that yielded me about $3.75 every 3 months. So I was earning just over $1 a month from this, but that was my first taste of passive income. I had taken this $500 I had, invested it, and it was earning me $1 or so every month that was coming to me. Now, obviously that wasn't making me a ton at that point, but it just got my mind spinning about the potential and the possibility of this whole idea of passive income, and that was thrilling. So number 2 for me was starting a blog and beginning to write blog articles about something that I was learning about or something that I knew about, and just sharing that with the world. And of all of these strategies, this is the one that has worked the best for me. I've had the most success with this. I've been doing this as a full-time gig for the last 8 years at the time of this recording. And while not every aspect of blogging is passive, a lot of pieces of it can be, especially once you're kind of up and running. So one of my favorite things is that I've been writing articles for this blog almost 10 years now, and some of the articles that I've written 7, 8 years ago are still getting traffic from Google passively each month, and then also earning me money each month. So it's not like I'm only earning from the new articles I'm writing, I'm earning from all the old ones, and so everything is just continuing to build, and it's a really, really fun business to be in just because of that. Not too long after I started my blog, I tried my hand at this third stream of income, which was a site called Hubpages, hubpages.com. And there's a whole bunch of different sites like this, but basically where you can go on there and write an article about any topic of your choice. So it's less commitment than starting a blog, but essentially you're writing an article that's going to help somebody or inform someone or something like that. And then they display ads on the side, and then they give you a percentage of the revenue that your article generates based on the number of views and clicks to the ads and things like that. So what's also cool about this is if you're someone who just has interest in a variety of things, and you have 10 different things you're passionate about and can't figure out which one or 2 I want to focus on to start a blog, this can be really, really helpful because you can go there and write about anything you want, and it doesn't matter if it's topically focused. So this was something that I tried many years ago, and I probably ended up writing a little over 100 of these actual articles for this site, and I probably haven't added one in at least 4 or 5 years, and to this day, I'm still earning over $200 a month from that work I put in all the way back then, just writing some of those articles, just on things that I was interested in, or maybe even something that I just learned about that day because I had to do a lot of research on it or whatever it was. All right, and the fourth one is writing a Kindle book. And so this also is a writing one, and not all of these are writing ones, so stick with me if you just don't want to write. But essentially this was an experiment where I took a very long and thorough article I'd written for the site and kind of modified it and turned it into a Kindle book. And writing a Kindle book is extremely easy. You can literally upload a Word doc file to the Kindle platform, and you'll have to format it. You know, they give you specifications on how to format it, but it's a very simple process. And I just wanted to throw it up there and see what would happen. And this was one of those things that just worked really well. If you, again, it's like if you can write something topically focused on a particular topic that you know something about or have something, a unique angle to share on it. Tons of people are going to the Kindle store trying to find books on really specific problems that they have, and you can write a Kindle book really quickly and easily to kind of solve that problem for them and then sell books in the process. And so for us right now, this probably generates about $100 a month, so it's not a ton. but it's been much higher in the past when we were maintaining it. All right, number 5 is recording music as an artist. And this is something I've grown up playing music. I've been in bands, I've been on worship teams. And so again, this was also an experiment, but my wife and I decided to record a few songs, worship songs that we just really like, throw them up on YouTube and just kind of see what happens. It's kind of how I do things, just like to throw it on the wall and see what sticks and then kind of go from there. And so we did this, and a couple things became very clear. So it's not real easy to make a whole lot of money as a musical artist. There is another way, which we'll talk about in a minute here. It also can be pretty passive as well. So in our case, we recorded 4 different songs. We put them up on YouTube. We kind of went through CD Baby to kind of get them distributed everywhere. We earn probably about $30 to $50 a month. So it's not a big earner for us by any means, but it's just another little passive stream that just keeps coming in. And any one of these streams, even if they're not earning a lot, if we just continue to work towards them, like we could get them to earn more. Like I'm saying, I'm throwing things up on the wall, seeing what sticks, and seeing what I want to do and what is the best use of my time. And so even though it's not a ton of money, it's still some money coming in, which is beneficial, but also it gives me a hint as to the potential of what could be if I continue to put effort into that project. All right, so number 6 was another experiment we tried where I bought a DSLR camera and I was having fun with it. And I decided, all right, well, I'm gonna shoot some stock photos and try to sell these on a stock photo site. So this one was probably the biggest failure of all, in that we spent a pretty good amount of time taking a whole bunch of good photos, probably 400, weeded those down to about the 40 best, and then uploaded them to a handful of stock photo sites and ended up only getting about, I think, 5 accepted by them. And then of those 5, they were now in the database for people to search and download and buy. From that effort that we put into that, we probably earned less than $1 a month. And so it just never really amounted to very much for us. Now, that said, I think if you're a better photographer than I am, which should be a very, very low bar for you, I think you can probably do better, and it might be something worth pursuing. Because again, what's exciting about it is that it's passive and you're doing the work one time and then you just continue to get paid. All right, and number 7 for us has been rental income. And this is one that people commonly think of when they think of passive income. But basically, we turned our first house that we bought after we got married into a rental property. Now, for it to be kind of completely passive, you probably need to bring in a property manager, which is what we did, because even though I don't know how realistic it is, I always get nervous. I don't want to get a phone call at 3 a.m. because there's a problem with the plumbing or something like that. So we hired a property manager who takes care of all of that for us. He takes a cut and then he just mails us a check. So literally all we do is just get a check each month, and that's really nice. Okay, so real quick update. I've actually made some changes since I originally recorded this video, and we have actually sold our rental property. And the thing we're doing now that I'm really excited about is called Fundrise. And essentially what it does is it allows you to be a real estate investor completely passively and not have any of the headaches of real estate investing. And in our case, we actually earned more from this than our rental property. And I did a thorough kind of comparison and review that you can check out on the site. I'll have it linked up down below. But anyway, this is a really cool one to check out. Okay, so that's all 7 of them. Now for number 8, we'll call it, as a little bonus here, what I would do if I had more time is probably record some stock music. So as you probably know, amateur video like this is growing exponentially and everybody's making video. Buying those background tracks is not real cheap. So I typically pay $10 to $20 for a 2-minute instrumental kind of background track. And that tends to be the going rate for something like that. Now, if you look at that compared to an average artist album that they sell for somewhere from 10 to 15 bucks, we're talking almost 10 times as much for an instrumental track. So you don't have to record vocals, you don't have to come up with words. It's just so much easier to create, and you're able to charge a whole lot more for it. So as a musician who could create something like that, that's really, really enticing to me, that it's a whole lot less work and the potential for earning is a whole lot higher. So if you're a performing musician who can get a pretty decent recording at home, that's something that you might want to look into. Okay, so just kind of summing this up and finishing out this video, there are just tons and tons of strategies. These are just a handful that I've tried, and there are just so many others out there. And honestly, this is probably the best time in the history of the world to kind of create some passive income for yourself. Even if you don't earn anything from it, like the fulfillment and satisfaction from having created something that has helped someone else is really, really nice. So do us all a favor and get out there and create something. You have something that the world needs to hear. You have something to share. You were gifted with something that you can give out, and I encourage you to get out there and do it.